Hello, and welcome to Popcorn News, something to watch while you eat popcorn. Do not try to comprehend it all. Nay, just eat the popcorn. From an old book, originally published 1912, republished by ForgottenBooks.org, The Comte de St Germain by Isabel Cooper-Oakley. One of the chief difficulties we find in tracing his history consists in the constant changes of name and title. One day, Tzarogy showed the Markgraf an invitation which he had received sent by a courier from the Graf Alexis Orloff. So you see it's, who was just returning from Italy. The letter pressed Graf Tzarogy. Now Graf is a German, Swedish, and Austrian title of nobility, similar to either a count or an earl. So if you have Count Ragoczy, the son of Prince Ragoczy, but he's hiding behind an anagram, he changes it to Graf Tzarogy. But this name here, he gets an invitation from the Graf Alexis Orloff. Now notice the name Orloff. Where have we heard that name before?
Meet Count Orloff. Symphony of Horrors.
He dug up an actor.
I'd like some makeup.
Well, you don't get him. Meet Count Orloff.
Meet Count Orloff. That's from a movie, The Shadow of the Vampire, produced by Nicolas Cage. And in that movie, Count Orloff is a vampire, Nosferatu. So the Graf Tzarogy, originally from Transylvania, and he lives for supposedly hundreds of years without showing any sign of age, receives an invitation from the Graf Orloff. And so the Graf Tzarogy, after dinner, Graf Orloff took the Graf Tzarogy, which is really Count Ragoczy, which is really Count St Germain, into the next room where they remained for some considerable time together. The carriages of Graf Orloff were drawn up. One of the Graf's servants came, opened one of the carriage doors, and took out from the box under the seat a large red leather bag, carried it upstairs to the room. After their return to Ansbach, the Graf Tzarogy showed them for the first time his credentials as a Russian general with the imperial seal attached. But the name, you see, there are these two counts here, and one of them disguising himself as Graf Tzarogy is said to live for hundreds of years, and he is in a good friendship with the Graf Orloff.
Meet Count Orloff. Symphony of Horrors.
He dug up an actor.
I'd like some makeup.
Well, you don't get him. Meet Count Orloff.
Nicolas Cage produced the movie In the Shadow of the Vampire, where we have Count Orloff as Nosferatu. And what do we find from ABC News? Is Nicolas Cage a vampire from the Civil War era? September 23rd, 2011, by ABC News via Good Morning America. Could Nicolas Cage be a vampire? A Civil War era photo that bears an eerie resemblance to Cage has sparked rumors that the actor is a real-life vampire. Cage has starred in Vampire's Kiss. But this Jack Mord, an antiques dealer, posted a photograph for sale on eBay of a man he says is from Bristol, Tennessee around 1870, and he says can be no one else but Nicolas Cage. Mord believes Cage is a vampire who reinvents himself every 75 years or so. Personally, said Mord, I believe it's him, and that he is some sort of walking undead vampire who quickens, reinvents himself once every 75 years or so. 150 years from now, he might be a politician. Mord claims that the supposedly 47-year-old actor looks virtually unchanged since his first big hit Moonstruck all the way back in 1987. Mord is so confident that the person in the photo is Cage that he said any serious potential buyer will be allowed to have a photo expert of their choice examine the original photograph. Here we have a photograph from circa 1850, and seated there is Madame Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. And this person here on the right is supposed to be Monsieur le Comte de St Germain. And this is taken around 1850, and St Germain is supposed to have been born around 1690. So this would be, he'd be 160 years old, but he doesn't look that old. It had occurred to me, here you have Monsieur le Comte de St Germain being from Transylvania and seeming to live for hundreds of years, that it came to me he might be a vampire. And that came to me before I found out that someone else in the 1990s, Yarbrough, had realized the same idea. Chelsea Quinn Yarbrough wrote some books, fictional books, but they're supposed to have sources in the back which support what she says. These books, as I recall, came out in the 1990s. The St Germain Cycle combine historic fiction, romance, and horror, and feature the heroic vampire first introduced in Hotel Transylvania as Le Comte de St Germain. In this initial novel, Hotel Transylvania, the character, cultured, well-traveled, articulate, elegant, and mysterious, appears in the court of France's King Louis XV. Yarbrough intentionally sought to get as far away as possible from the traditional vampire trope and still have a recognizable vampire, to use the vampire as metaphor. But she filtered it through a feminist perspective. And although Hotel Transylvania and her other novels also belong firmly within the canon of modern horror. In The Elixir of Life, which is rumored, factually rumored, to have made Count St Germain live so long. She thinks that this elixir of life was the code words or disguise for, in other words, blood.